With just 24 hours remaining until school starts, Darwin and Gumble try to come up with ideas. Sadly, because they have played the games too much, any idea they have is rejected. They choose to play Dodge or Dar, a make-believe game, but they quickly grow tired of it. They start to wonder what may have happened to make these games less interesting. But then Gumble realizes that perhaps what's boring them is each other rather than the games themselves. After a brief period of panic, they started formulating a plan of action. Gumble watches as two ants struggle to pick up a biscuit, but then another one chimes in, and the three of them manage to hoist the treat. After stealing Darwin's cookie, the three content ants take off. Gumble gets an idea from the ants and determines they require a third best friend. The two look for a new acquaintance at school. Tina is pointed out by Darwin as she passes. After crushing Idaho, Ocho, and Anton, Tina is hesitantly rejected by Darwin and Gumble. Darwin then identifies William, who is flying past to check on a trash can. William gives them a spooky blink, and the two tremble and reject him for being spooky. They can now hear Banana Joe making fun of himself. As they welcome him, they debate adding him as a third friend. His pranks amuse them at first, but with each passing joke, he becomes less funny and more irritating. After his fourth joke, they choose to withdraw. Leslie discovers, inexplicably, that Darwin and Gumble are searching for a third companion at lunch. He accepts the position with enthusiasm, but he creeps the two of them out. They find themselves hiding from Leslie in the guys' lavatory. Darwin makes the argument that a friend ought to be well-groomed, wealthy, colorful, and an attentive listener. With his ears tuned in, Tobias offered them $20 to become friends. Gumble yells, "What?" out of rage, but Tobias gives him some space to reflect. Gumble notices that each one is only worth $10. Gumble gives Tobias $10, but Gumble has to buy Darwin something because he doesn't have any money. But after Tobias receives his payment, Darwin and Tobias depart without Gumble. Darwin entertains the family at supper by telling tales of his time spent with Tobias. Gumble once threw his supper at Darwin so he could talk. Sadly, the family chooses to simply listen to Darwin. The students play a game that requires a best friend in the school gym. Gumble is excited about the opportunity to spend time with Darwin, but to his dismay, Darwin is with Tobias. Darwin and Tobias decide to have a sleepover, which just makes matters worse. Without Alan's permission, Gumble arranges a sleepover with him in vengeance. Gumble tries to play games with Alan at his place. Alan doesn't have hands, thus he can't play them. Soon after, Alan queries what is actually happening, to which Gumble replies that things have changed since Darwin's time. Gumble ultimately agrees to see Darwin when Alan advises him to do so. Gumble then asks Rosie if he may borrow her tricycle so he can find a way to get to Tobias's house. He throws money at her and pedals off on the trike when she charges him $70. In his rage, Gumble runs over some wet cement, which becomes all over him and the trike and renders him unconscious. He envisions a time when Darwin will move on from his former closest friend. He breaks through the concrete as a result, keeps moving, and makes his way toward the uneven area that stands between him and Darwin. As he crosses numerous hills and valleys, Gumble begins hating the stupid ants and their stupid cookie for getting him into this predicament. He suddenly notices and descends a very steep hill, which sets him on fire and sends him hurtling across the town like a meteorite. Gumble arrives at Tobias's place shortly. He asks Tobias for Darwin right away. Tobias claims to be in a different room. Darwin is crying because of Gumble. Darwin is lucky that Gumble is outside. After making up, the two pick up Kebab Fighter. The two close friends say no to Tobias's request to play as the show comes to a close.